So, hello everybody. Welcome to this live session. If you're living with ME/CFS, long COVID, fibromyalgia, POTS and related conditions, and you recognize this pattern, you rest, your energy builds, and you feel better, you do more, then your body starts to dip. But something in you says, let's keep going, don't stop now. Then I must make most of this whilst I've got energy. And before you know it, you're in a big crash, or as I prefer to call them, you're experiencing a big increase in symptoms. That's the boom and bust cycle. Let me know in the chat if that's something you can relate to. Dorothy says hi. Yeah, and if you do join me live, feel free to say hello. Let me know where you are in the world. If you're watching the replay, do the same. Maxwell, hello. Patty from New Mexico. And Titanic Jenny says hi. Simon, hi all. Nice to have you join. And yeah, as I say, if you have joined live or replay, just say hello in the chat. Let me know if you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay. But here's the part most people miss. It's not just about what you do. It's about what's driving what you do. So in this session, we're going to look at why you get pulled back into boom and bust, even when you're trying to pace. The hidden emotional patterns underneath it, things like frustration, fear, and urgency, and how to start making decisions that are coming from a place of trust in your body instead of fear. So if you're doing your best to be careful and you still find yourself swinging between doing more and paying for it, this session will help you understand what's happening and what you can actually start doing differently in a gentle, sustainable way. Mandy says hi from Chilly Hythe in Kent. Nice to have you. And Maxwell says yes. Dorothy is in Morecambe. So if you don't know me, my name's Simon Pimenta. I had ME, CFS and fibromyalgia for around 8-9 years. And there were times I couldn't walk for 1 minute. And I was resting and sleeping 18 hours a day. Not because I was lazy, but because my body simply wasn't working. And over time, that went from, being very limited to getting back to life again, working, playing sport, going to festivals, doing normal things without constantly thinking about my symptoms. Last night, I went out to the theatre after a full day's work, and I got up quite early yesterday and didn't get to bed till about 11:30. And today, I've been working since about, in fact, I got up at 5:45 this morning. And what helped me was a combination of doing mind, body work and very practical approaches. And now I make free content to share the kind of support I wish I'd had when I was going through it. So if you are new to the channel, do like, subscribe, hit the notification button, check out the playlists on lots of issues. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in Manchester with Dr. Howard Schubiner. He was training us for 2 days in some of these mind-body approaches. And one of the people I met was someone I'd met online called Claire Berrington. And she told me the story of when she was young, her and her then boyfriend were hitchhiking somewhere, possibly in the Lake District, and it might have been in Scotland actually. And there was a long route round, and she thought, actually, I'm just going to go straight. And so her boyfriend went the long way round, and she understood why there was a path not going straight, because she got stuck in a bog and she was sinking. I think she got, up to her waist in the bog. And then she remembered that she needed not to struggle, push and try and fight her way out of it, because the more she fought, the deeper she got. And the solution wasn't to try harder, it was to try smarter. Okay, so she actually lay down, spread her weight, relaxed, and I think she managed to pull some reeds and gently pulled herself out of the bog. And when she reunited with her boyfriend, she was a sight to behold because she was covered in mud. All right. And I kind of think trying to recover from conditions like ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID, and even how we approach the boom and bust pattern can be a bit like that. The instinct, and again, let me know if you recognize this pattern, is to grit your teeth, clench your fists, and push through. Actually, often the way out of it is to actually soften, to listen, and to respond more intelligently. So right now, just for a minute or two, I invite you just to close your eyes, and only close your eyes if it's safe to do so. I invite you to just make yourself comfortable. Take a breath, breathe in through your nose, as long as that's comfortable, into your belly. Breathe out of your nose. And as you breathe in and out, I invite you to allow your out-breath to be a little longer. Allow yourself to just focus on that gentle rhythm of breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And as you continue to breathe in that slow, gentle, rhythmic way, I invite you just to tune into your body, just noticing the sensations in your body right now in a very particular way. Noticing the sensations without thinking about the sensations, just feeling the experience of those sensations without analysing, catastrophizing, chastising, without interpretation, judgment, without ruminating, just being with those sensations. In a sense, saying to yourself, I acknowledge these sensations. I allow these sensations. I accept these sensations. When we do that, we can just let the body soften and relax. I was guiding someone through a somatic practice earlier today, and they shifted from being stressed to more relaxed, to the point that they nearly fell asleep. And so what I'm teaching you is step one of a process, and just practicing what I've just shared is a really useful skill to cultivate, the capacity to be with our sensations without getting into our head. What we're doing is we're building our window of tolerance. We're wiring our brain to be more okay with our body and the sensations. And you'll understand why I did this little exercise as we continue. So when you're ready, if you like, you can open your eyes, or you can just carry on listening with your eyes closed. And if you like, just let me know in the chat how you found doing that 3-minute exercise. So I'm going to continue, and let's look at what really is driving the boom and bust pattern. Because when you look a bit deeper, boom and bust isn't usually caused by laziness or a lack of discipline. It's often driven by very understandable emotional patterns like frustration. I'm so fed up with this. feeling like a failure. I should be able to do more. Urgency. I need to get things done whilst I have energy. Fear. What if this energy disappears again? So Jenny says, that was soothing. I feel more grounded. Thanks, Simon. You are very welcome. So you don't just calmly choose to push. My experience is that we are driven to push. Your thoughts generate emotions. Those emotions drive behavior. And that behavior pulls you straight back into the pattern of boom and bust. So I want to talk about the difference between reactive and proactive, taking inspired, attuned action. Right now, for many people, boom and bust is a very reactive pattern, okay? We're not attuned to the body in the moment. We wait until symptoms are shouting at us. Then when we experience those strong symptoms, we feel what I call sad, stressed, anxious, and despair. And only rest because we have to. We're reacting. What we're moving towards, my invitation is to move towards what I call inspired, attuned action, where we're more proactive and intentional. We're more tuned into the body's early signals with built-in pauses to check. What do I need right now? Is it wise to continue? Is it wise to stop? So we're shifting from reactive, not being attuned to our body, to proactive, being attuned. And from the boom and bust cycle, we're shifting more towards what I call the safe stretch rhythm. Small stretches, built-in pauses, and decisions coming from a place of trust rather than fear. So let's just have a quick look at the comment. I am no longer see crashes as crashes or that I've overdone. It's patterns my system has learned, being triggered by something, maybe a thought, a situation. It's my brain misfiring. Yeah, we'll talk a bit more about that. Matteo says, afternoon everyone, I'm late, no problem, nice to have you here. Love that, Dorothy says, Jenny. Okay, so yeah, that's really a lovely reframe. So let's talk about this equation that you may have heard me talk about before, which is event, response, outcome. Okay, so consider that the event might be a symptom. It might be your energy starting to dip, or that sense of effort creeping in. Then we have a response, and very often that response is what I call sad. Stress, anxiety, despair. So it looks like event, symptom, plus the sad, and that result, the outcome is more tension, more stress, chemistry, more symptoms. But there is another option, which is event being symptoms plus pact. Patience, acceptance of this moment for now, not forever. Compassion towards ourselves and trust that it will pass. Okay, so symptom plus pact doesn't necessarily magically erase everything. It does create the conditions for healing instead of more overload. And the key is this: between the event and the outcome is that gap where we can choose our response. And that's where your wise self comes in. One part of us is saying, keep going, don't stop now. And sometimes that's because, as I said earlier, we're frustrated, etc. Sometimes it might be we're just enjoying ourselves, all right? There's another part of us that says, let's just pause a moment and discern what we need right now. So the work is learning to hear the wise part that's always there. It's like the blue sky. create a small pause and choose from a place of trust rather than a place of fear. Okay. So I want to talk briefly about neuroplasticity. And this is the notion that patterns can change. Okay. From a neuroplasticity point of view, these responses can become conditioned. So, for example, if we do activity and we experience symptoms, that can become a conditioned association. All right. So we start to think, oh, when I do activity, it results in symptoms. That then goes another step further. We think about doing activity, and because we have got that association between activity and symptoms, we start to experience stress. So we think about activity, we experience stress, and that results in symptoms. So those associations can build. So for example, let's say, and I've had clients who've said this, they go to the supermarket, there's bright lights, there's noise, there's music, and these can become anchors for this is unsafe. Okay, so now we start to associate the supermarket with symptoms. Okay, and so your system starts to predict, if I do this, I'll flare. Okay, I've talked in another video about the power of our expectations, the expectation effect, the predictions that we make. So the goal isn't to avoid symptoms forever. Okay, the goal is to reduce symptoms that come from being unattuned, from being in that fear-driven activity, to using these moments when symptoms do show up as opportunities to rewire your response. Moving from SAD, can you remember what SAD stands for? To PACT. Okay, building in, going from that panic, stress, anxiety, etc., to more patience, more pragmatism, acceptance, compassion, and trust. Pragmatism is a really useful skill or quality to cultivate, that ability to see the bigger picture, keeping things in perspective. I've got symptoms, that's okay. I was expanding a bit and maybe going a bit outside my comfort zone. So my body and brain and my nervous system is just readjusting to this new level of activity. And that's how we start to teach the system something new. So let's talk about a practical shift we can make where we have an earlier choice point. So rather than having that choice point happening a bit later on, let me just see if I've got my iPad to hand. I'll illustrate this. Give me 2 seconds. I'll just open up my iPad and go there. All right. So, as you can see, why are you not seeing my iPad? Okay, I don't know why that's happened. My iPad is not displaying. Oh, I think I know why it is. Let me try again. Let's see if this works this time. Yeah, okay, so, all right. So, as I say, the pattern of boom and bust can look a bit like this. We've got energy. Okay, our energy starts to build and there comes a point where it starts to dip. And the boom and bust pattern is that at this point, instead of stopping, we carry on. Okay, so that's where we kind of using energy even though our energy has dipped. Okay, and what's that's going to result in is that we now have this long recovery period. Okay, and sorry, let's go there. All right, and now what happens is we repeat that pattern. We're now having to rest and then we get some energy and we do the same thing. We keep going when our body is saying, oh, let's stop. It's time to just pause here. And we just repeat that pattern over and over again. And the key is this: it actually takes quite a lot of resources of the body's resources to generate energy when we're in the red. Okay, sorry, that should be okay. It takes a lot of energy, and so we want to do something a little bit different. Okay, we want to create a pattern that's just introducing that choice point. Rather than resting here when we have to, we're making a choice here and tuning into what we need. It might be, the body saying, we've done enough of that now. Let's do something different. Maybe the body's bored of doing that particular activity. All right. And what I want you to consider is if we do listen, something interesting happens. Okay. Can you see what's happening here? All right. A couple of interesting things that happen, actually. And what it is that these rest periods start to get smaller. That's certainly what I experienced when I had ME/CFS. When I started, I was resting and sleeping 18 hours a day. And over time, those rest periods shrunk to maybe 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, then 1 hour, then half an hour, okay? And there was a general trend that was an upward trend, okay? In terms of my energy started to build, okay? Now, that's not to say that we always have to do it this way. There might be times where we think, oh, I just want to do this thing. I want to go to the cinema or whatever it is. And we might experience, I've talked before about the time I went clubbing. And it maybe took me out of my comfort zone a bit. But when I was resting, I had a big smile on my face. Okay? Because I'd had so much fun. I'd gone out clubbing for 2 or 3 hours. And I was resting for the next few days, etc. Or even, I think it was about a week. But I had a big smile on my face because I was just focusing on the great time I had. Okay, so can you see that how useful it is to start listening to our body? Let me know in the chat. Okay, so let's just go back to my notes. Just to reiterate, and if you have joined, I see some more people have joined. Do feel free to say hello in the chat. Let me know where you are in the world. I've got some questions here. So let me come back to those questions. I'll just finish off because I'm kind of getting near to the end, and then we'll circle back to those questions. All right. So let's look at this practical shift, making that choice point earlier. All right. On the surface, the pattern is you rest, energy builds, you feel better, you do more. So far, so reasonable. Then the body starts to dip. That's the choice point. And most people never experience it as a choice because all the emotional drivers kick in. Keep going. Don't stop now. You might not get this chance again. You're finally being productive. Don't waste it. So you override those early signals. And breaking the pattern is just noticing that moment earlier, creating a pause and asking from that wise part of you. Remember, that wise part of you is always there. It's like the blue sky. All right. And this might look like just stopping while things feel okay, taking a 3-5 minute pause instead of pushing through, reminding yourself, I can come back to this. I don't have to squeeze everything into one window. And it's like I'm making a deposit in the energy bank. All right. So consider that. And the more we, as I say, if we go to the iPad, the more we break that pattern of creating that yellow phase and then followed by the long red phase, that's very inefficient energy-wise. It's more efficient to pause, recharge, reconnect, and discern what we need. Okay, I want to talk briefly about rest that isn't rest. Okay, one thing that keeps the boom and bust going is what I call rest that isn't really rest. You may be lying on the bed, in bed or on the sofa, stressing, overanalyzing, scanning for symptoms, predicting and catastrophizing. The body is horizontal, but the nervous system is still in fight or flight. So the system doesn't really get a chance to recharge, reset, and restore. We'll go deeper into what real nervous system nourishing rest looks like in a future session. For now, even a tiny shift towards pact, patience, acceptance, compassion, trust, when you pause, can make that rest more nourishing than collapse and worry. So let's talk about this upward trend vision. So when you start responding differently at those moments, instead of big push, big symptoms, long recovery, you get more small activity, pause, recharge, reset, recover, repeat. And over time, that creates a gentler upward trend. Doesn't matter if it's not perfect. Doesn't matter if it's linear. There's just a bit more stability. It's less all or nothing. It's more little and often. So I invite you to do an experiment for the next 7 days. So the 7-day micro challenge. See if you can notice one moment each day where you'd normally push through, and instead do an experiment. Pause. Check in with what's driving you. Is it sad or packed? And make a slightly different choice from that place of trust. That's it. So you're not having to do things, I've got to get this right. You're not tracking every minute. It can be useful. Sometimes I do, if I want to see how I'm spending my day, I've got a spreadsheet with 15-minute slots on one side. And I mean, I'm happy to share that as a PDF if you'd like it. And I just fill in how I spend my time, because it's very illuminating. When I do it, I can see, oh, wow, I got distracted there. I was going to have a 20-minute break. It turned into a 45-minute break or whatever, okay? And maybe sometimes when I was having that break, I wasn't actually doing something that was a break. Looking at my phone after I've been looking at the computer for 2 hours or whatever isn't really a break, all right? So we're just looking at making one different choice a day. And I suspect you'll be surprised over time how much difference those tiny moments make. So let's have a quick look at the comments. Dorothy says, it's not the activity, it's how you think about the activity. Yeah, if it made you ill last time, your system feels unsafe. So it thinks you're in danger and causes more symptoms. Exactly, all right? Because, your nervous system's job is to keep you safe. And if it thinks that going to the supermarket is dangerous, it's going to start generating symptoms to tell you not to do that perceived dangerous thing. So, a question from Takato Katoka, great name, Simon. How do we know when we're expending too much versus our nervous system is just having a bit of a moment? Yeah, that's a great question. So that comes down to doing those experiments, all right? Because it isn't, unless we haven't got a crystal ball, we don't always know. So we can do little experiments. Okay, if we recognize that our nervous system is having a little moment, then I'd say it's useful to listen to that, to tune into that, to just become curious and maybe approach that nervous system dysregulation as you would a little child who was scared, and have a conversation with it. What's going on? What emotion are you feeling? What's the reason do you think you're feeling that emotion? And if you're not sure, the next question is, what's the reason for that? If you're not sure, have a guess, because often your guesses are going to be accurate, okay? And if you recognize that, for instance, I remember a client saying they wanted to meet a friend for coffee, and that was kind of step 5. And we could break it down. I've talked about this a lot, but they could break it down into smaller steps. They could sit in the car, and when they felt ready, they could do that a few times. When they felt ready, they could drive to the cafe, or even just drive around the block if they needed to break it down. Drive to the cafe, go into the cafe, get a takeaway, go into the cafe, have a drink. Then when they feel ready and more confident, we want to increase our confidence score. So we're about 8 out of 10 confidence. Then, that's going to help the nervous system. All right. And if your tendency is to expend too much, to push, then that's when it can be really useful to do those experiments. So let me know if that gives you some food for thought, to Carter. All right. So Kelly B says, I feel like I can never get a grip on what point is too much, as it constantly decrease for me. So I've taught, if you watch the video I did last week, okay, about crashing. Let me just see if I can find that video. Give me 2 secs. But yeah, it's the video that I did last week, the live video. So check that video out, okay? Because I kind of talk about that, why our capacity seems to be going down. So still crashing even when careful. And as I say, I've talked a bit today about that pattern, that if we're operating from that place of fear, when we're doing the activity, the brain starts learning activity is dangerous. Just thinking about doing the activity, our nervous system is generating those symptoms because it feels that we need to be protected. Okay, so we need to break that pattern. Okay, and some of what I've talked about today is about that, how to break that pattern. And as I say, I'll be doing another video soon, which is about experimenting with these nervous system regulation techniques. So let's just have a look. Hi, Daniela from Germany. Hi, Daniela. What when you are almost always tired but wired, or wired but tired? Yeah, so as I say, I think number one, get curious. There's that, as I say, that part of you that is wise. We want to connect to that part, and you do that. We did a simple exercise earlier just to pause, to slow down a bit. We want to practice just connecting to that wise part of us that operates from a place of trust. And as I said just now, I invite you to consider, if you are resting, for example, are you doing it in a way that is stressing, lying in bed stressing, but actually not resting, recharging, resetting? All right, because there was a time when I was tired and wired, and actually it took quite a lot of work. I really had to be intentional about settling my nervous system. Okay, at one point, I've made videos about this, I did take ashwagandha, which is an adaptogen that can help your body deal with stress better. All right, so check out that video. That kind of was something I used at one point, but it was something I stopped using after a while. All right, when my nervous system became more consistently regulated. All right, so I hope that gives you some food for thought. Titanic says, I'll definitely do that. Already did this challenge a while ago, and it really helped me to notice these critical moments on time. Great, thanks for sharing that, Jenny. Hi, when do you do lives? It's first time I see it. Greetings from Athens. So I normally do them at 4:30 p.m. on that's UK time, on a Thursday. Today I did it a half hour earlier because I've got to be on a call at 5 o'clock. All right, so I did it a bit earlier. But thank you for joining. Thanks everybody for joining. So let's just finish off. Okay, I've just got rid of my notes. Let's just call them up again. Here we go. And I'll tell you, funny thing is that in the past, any time I had some kind of mishap, like I've just managed to close my notes, I'd be stressing about it. Now I just think, whatever, it's fine. All right. So if you take one thing from today, I invite you to consider this, that the boom and bust cycle is not proof that you've failed. It's proof often that your system has learned some understandable patterns, emotional patterns, thought patterns, survival patterns, and your body isn't broken. Or even if it feels that it is broken, it can repair. Okay, it's responding to patterns it's learned. And if something has been learned, there is some possibility for it to begin to be relearned. And we do that by understanding what's really driving our behavior, tuning into the body and emotions from a clearer space, and choosing, even occasionally, to shift from fear to trust. So if that resonates, let me know in the chat or comments. You can type BB if you recognize the boom and bust pattern in yourself, and share a situation where you'd love to respond differently. Okay, so if you'd like more support with this, then I have created a course called Building Resilience, where we go into all of this and many other topics in more depth. Things like nervous system reset, shifting from fear of activity, rewiring these patterns over time. At the moment, I only teach it one-to-one. I did a group earlier, but I'm open to running a small group program in the future. If that's something that may be interesting to you, you can comment BR or send me a message, and I'll make sure you hear about it when I run again. So in the next session, we'll go deeper into what real rest and nervous system reset can look like, and how to create more of that, even in tiny pockets. So thanks for being here. A few comments. Daniela says, thank you, Simon, you're welcome. Titanic says, thank you for today's session. Smiley face. Maxwell, thank you so much. Amazing course. I've learned so much. Thank you, Jenny. So Jenny, I'll just put Jenny's comment there. She did the Building Resilience course. So thanks for your feedback, Jenny. Awesome. So thanks for everyone being here. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for your honesty, and really invite you to make those small choices, those brave choices you're making. Do those little experiments. If you know that doing X, Y, Z hasn't worked, how about trying A, B, C? All right. Inez King says, thank you, Simon. You're very welcome. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. If you like this video, do give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, share it with somebody else. And if you've got topics that you'd like me to talk about, let me know. Got any questions, get in touch. Keep going. Keep daring to take small steps and daring to dream big dreams. Bye for now.